This video is for entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Josh, and in today's video we'll be talking about Charlie Munger's recent purchase in Alibaba shares and why I think it's such a big deal. And I'll also be going over my intrinsic value calculation for Alibaba. As you know, I've done videos on Alibaba before on this channel. I've done 2 videos on them. Since then, the share price has only been dropping. So I have actually been adding Alibaba stock quite heavily earlier in this year and late last year. So it is the second largest position in my portfolio. So I follow the stock very closely, and I also talk about why I think it's such a big deal that Charlie Munger is buying Alibaba shares. So if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit like and subscribe. But with no time wasted, let's get right into the video. So to give you a little bit of context, Charlie Munger didn't buy the Alibaba shares under his personal portfolio, but actually using the Daily Journal Corporation portfolio. So Charlie Munger is the chairman of the Daily Journal Corporation, and you can think of the Daily Journal Corporation as what Berkshire Hathaway is to Warren Buffett, but for Charlie Munger instead. So a lot of people go to the annual meetings for the Daily Journal Corporation asking him about investing questions, but they actually miss the point that the Daily Journal Corporation has a primary business in selling newspapers as well as software for the courts, basically. So you can actually invest in Daily Journal Corporation, and over the past 35 years or so, you would have made a lot of money on your investment. But basically, the Daily Journal Corporation is not primarily an investment company. It has an actual newspaper business and a technology business, which is seen as the future of the business. So why I think this is such a big deal is because the Daily Journal Corporation doesn't really make a lot of investment decisions. So the current holdings of the company were actually bought during the depths of the financial crisis. So over here, this is from past annual reports. It said that in February 2009, the company purchased shares of common stock of 2 Fortune 200 companies and certain bonds of a third. And during the second and the third quarters of fiscal 2011, the company bought shares of common stock of 2 foreign manufacturing companies. During the first quarter of fiscal 2012, the company bought shares of common stock of another Fortune 200 company. So they're a little bit opaque over here. They don't mention what stocks that the company actually bought. But I'll show you guys later what stocks the company did buy, because in 2013 they did have to file a 13F filing, which basically shows you what type of stocks that they have in the portfolio. As you can see over here, the company's short-term investments primarily made up of marketable securities, and you can see that the marketable securities value of total assets has actually increased over time, and you can see most of the total assets now is made up of the marketable securities investments. And the share price likewise has also had a tremendous run, up 810% over the past 15 years or so. As you can see over here, this is the 13F filing in Q3 of 2013. This shows exactly what public securities that the company has. They also have stocks that are outside of the US, which they don't have to disclose on the 13F form. But over here we can see that in 2013 they had 2.3 million shares of Bank of America, 64.6 thousand POSCO ADRs, 140,000 US Bancorp, as well as 1.591 million shares in Wells Fargo. Now, if we look at the most recent filing that was released 2 days ago, we can see that Bank of America, 2.3 million shares, so no change since the 2013 filing. We also see POSCO over here with 9,745 shares, so they did sell down this position quite a bit from its initial position that they had. US Bancorp, 140,000, no change, and Wells Fargo, 1.591 million shares, no change at all. So Charlie Munger hasn't actually bought any new shares using the Daily Journal Corporation in quite a long time. They did sell down some shares in POSCO, but in terms of buys, they don't really buy shares, and it is primarily because the business is not in the business of investing in companies. So I do find it a little odd that Charlie Munger did buy shares in Alibaba using the Daily Journal Corporation. So why I think this is such a big deal is because of precisely that. Charlie Munger doesn't really buy shares using this business, so he either thinks this business must be really cheap or a really good deal for him to actually buy shares using this shell. And also another reason why I think this could be such a big deal is because there's a big chance that Berkshire actually buys shares in Alibaba as well, just because, you know, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, they are partners in Berkshire Hathaway. So when Charlie Munger likes an idea, he would usually, you know, tell Buffett. I'm sure they have a lot of conversations in the boardroom or in their office in Omaha. So I think there's a very high possibility that Berkshire Hathaway buys Alibaba shares. And if they do buy Alibaba shares, it will be much bigger in size than Charlie Munger's $37 million purchase worth of shares. And the reason why I think there's a very high possibility as well that Berkshire buys Baba is because Berkshire already owns Amazon, which is seen as a similar business to Alibaba, or Alibaba is seen as similar to Amazon. It is the Chinese Amazon after all. They have huge e-commerce presence as well as a cloud presence as well in China. So very similar businesses. So it might be easier for Warren Buffett or, you know, Ted or Todd to understand the business already because they already have a stake in Amazon. Now, this is purely speculation at this point because I do have to caution you that while Berkshire Hathaway did sell some of its Wells Fargo shares, Charlie Munger didn't sell the Wells Fargo shares in the Daily Journal Corporation. Charlie Munger was actually asked the question at the most recent annual meeting of the Daily Journal Corporation, asking, you know, why didn't you sell any shares in Wells Fargo when Berkshire was dumping a whole lot of it? To which Charlie Munger did reply that they don't necessarily have to do the same thing. You know, Daily Journal Corporation is independent of Berkshire Hathaway. They have different considerations. So in that sense, he did, you know, explain as to why they don't necessarily make the same decisions. So at this point, it's purely speculation, but I think this is a very exciting space to watch. Keep an eye out on the next Berkshire Hathaway's 13F filing. I think that could be a very interesting event. So now let's move on to my intrinsic value calculation of what I think Alibaba shares are worth. Just to give you a very quick summary, I have growth rates for the next 5 years at 15% and 10% from years 5 to years 10. I use a discount rate of 10% and a terminal multiple of 20 times, assuming that we'll sell the business at 20 times earnings, or in this case, free cash flow at the end of year 10. So that gives me an intrinsic value of $262.23. You add in the cash per share and you take out the debt per share to give you an equity value of $281.68. And I also add in a fair value for the Ant stake that Alibaba owns. So they own 33% of Ant. And in this calculation over here, I give Ant a 15 PE multiple. So I assume that they sell the IPO Ant at a 15 earnings multiple, which gives us a fair value of $14.47 per share. So that brings the total value of Alibaba to be roughly $300 or $296.15 to be exact. At the current share price of Alibaba of $225.42, that represents an upside of 31%. Now, I believe I am very conservative with these growth rates over here because, as you can see, the CAGR for Alibaba over the past 4 or 5 years or so is roughly 25%. They've been growing free cash flow at roughly 25%. So using 15% and 10% growth rates for the next 5 to 10 years, I believe, is very conservative over here. So let me know what you think about Alibaba shares. Let me know what you think of the recent Charlie Munger purchase in Alibaba shares as well. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts because Alibaba is the second largest position in my portfolio and I actually do have quite high convictions for this stock. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and until next time, guys, take care.